Okay, welcome everyone to what is this? Tuesday meditation. And let's start by sitting up comfortably. And let's begin this time. Some of you have done this before, singing descending fifths. That's the most, um, for various reasons, the most tension relieving musical interval that there is. And it goes like this. Some of you have done this in church. Amen. Right? That may ring a bell for some of you, or you've heard it in a million songs. Blue moon, blue moon, blue moon. All right. Oh, say, can you see? It's universal, and it's because it's the maximum distance between two musical tones. So, what we're going to be doing is you take a nice deep breath, fill up the body, expand the ribs, just feel what it feels like to be gloriously full of air. And then, without effort, to when the for the air to leave a balloon, the balloon doesn't have to push. You just open the valve and it comes out. So we just have this idea of opening the valve. But what if the valve were our entire body? Okay. So it's not just coming, the sound is not just being released out the mouth. The idea is it's being released out our eyes and our ears and all the little follicles of our hair, all the pores of the body going out 360 degrees. We're just melting into the universe as we descend. There's a kind of a suspension to that first note. And then there's a melting into the low note. So just melting out 360 degrees. Okay? So let's do that. Inhaling. Of course, if your breath runs out before mine, that's fine, or it keeps going longer, that's fine. It's not a contest. But it's nice to have a nice long breath just so we can get lost in it, lost in that meltingness. I'm going to do it a little higher. I think some people may need the note a little, the starting note a little higher. Inhaling. Looks to me like some people are not singing. This is your big chance. You're all alone. There's no one there to make fun of you, to be self conscious in front of. This is your big chance. Liberation, now or never. Let's go. All you got to do is open your mouth, breathing in. more. Ah. Now we just leave the breath as it is. Let it take care of itself. Leave everything as it is. Let it take care of itself. And everything does take care of itself. We're not required to show up as the traffic cop of our own experience, as the supervisor, the manager. We're not required to show up as the recording secretary, taking minutes of the meeting, the scorekeeper, keeping score. Hey, how's this meditation going? Forget about all that. We're already present. See if you can stop being present. Nope. Maybe you've heard people talk about trying to be present. Try to not be present. It's impossible. We're already aware. People talk about trying to be aware. Try to not be aware. So since we can't stop being present, we can't stop being aware, it's clear that that's effortless. That present awareness is here whether we like it or not. It's here before we show up with any intentions to meditate or any big plans like that. Present awareness. Whenever you look, here it is. So there's nothing for us to do but relax into that. It's like an inviting hammock. It's already there. Just flop onto that hammock of present awareness. Let the mind flop. Let the emotions flop. Let the body and the breath flop. Bleh. Into this present awareness. And just hang out. not trying to concentrate, not trying to push away thoughts or push away sounds or push away feelings or sensations. Not trying to concentrate, whatever that means. Not trying to be mindful, whatever that means. Not trying to meditate, whatever that means. All our ideas about being mindful and meditating, those are just ideas. In other words, thoughts. And it's fine for thoughts to be there, but we don't buy into any of them. We don't hop aboard. We don't take them seriously. Thoughts about concentrating or being mindful are like thoughts about, am I going to have some dessert after this? Just stuff coming and going. And we just remain flopped into the hammock of present awareness and let the stuff come and go. At any point, if you find yourself realizing, oh, I've been caught up in these thoughts, I forgot what I was doing, that's fine. The fact that you've realized you were caught up means you're not caught up anymore. So there's nothing you have to do about those thoughts. You were lying on the hammock of present awareness the whole time. So there's nothing you have to do to get back there. Just relax back into that awareness. That simple. Always that simple. You never have to look for that present awareness. You're always in it, and you're actually always it. And you never have to look for boundlessness, because boundlessness is the nature of that awareness. You see any boundaries to it? Any color, any shape? No. You could see or imagine colors and shapes and boundaries, but they're all being imagined within that awareness, which has no qualities whatsoever. It's infinitely open, like open space. That's it. That's the real thing. That's always here. That's you. Nothing to do but relax back into that again and again. Nothing to figure out. Nothing to adjust. Nothing to achieve. no strategy for achieving it. We're already here. Just flopping back into it. Now keep the eyes closed and take a few minutes to gently allow the body to surface. After a couple of minutes, when you feel ready, you can slowly open the eyes. Okay, how's everybody doing? Everybody good? Okay. What are your questions or comments tonight? Everybody's good?
I mean, I feel like I always speak up, but
You know, you should always speak up. Good.
um,
I could see you stirring there.
oh yeah, I
So
always
good. Yeah. No, it's really really important when you feel you have questions, push your way to the front if necessary, get your questions answered.
um, so I had a better experience than last week. There was less
Mhm.
pain, easier. It was easier to kind of sink below that hammock you're talking about into like open space. Um, but over the week, I wanted to rephrase the question that I asked last week. And so so say you're going to sleep and you just close your eyes, you're not really tired, and you let your mind off the reins. You just kind of wander.
Mhm.
What is the difference between like what we do here and that, if there is any difference?
Okay. First, I want to go back a half a step to something because if we're going to ask whether what you're talking about doing in bed at night is the same as what we're doing here, I want to be clear about what we're doing here. Otherwise, we can't compare them. Okay. Now, you said something very interesting at the outset. You said it was easier to sink down into the hammock or, sink down into being into awareness or something like that. All right. Um, so there's one word I just want to look a little more deeply into, and that's the word easier. Okay. Usually, when we say something is easy or this thing is easier than this thing, what we're saying is it requires less effort. Okay. Now, does sinking into our own awareness, sinking into our own beingness, our own presence, does that ever require effort? Does exerting effort ever facilitate that happening?
No.
No. Okay. Good. Correct answer. Okay. Very important. Okay. And I like the way you really stopped and considered. You just didn't just tell me what you thought I wanted to hear. You really checked in with yourself there. That's really, really good and important. Okay. To be really clear. And it doesn't mean you'll never fall back into, a habit or a pattern of efforting, but it means that on some level, you know how this movie ends. You know that the effort always winds up being unproductive, being actually counterproductive, right? The harder we work at, okay, I got to sink down into this water, the more we just wind up stirring up more turbulence, right? When we finally just give up on all that, the gravity pulls us in. Okay. Good. And we all have to go through a certain amount of trying and certain, right, to really find out that that doesn't work and to really surrender that, to really give that up. Okay. And, and, and I see my job 100% as just helping you to shorten that time a little bit. Good. So we're clear on that. We're clear on that. Good, good, good. Now, two things we want to distinguish. One is what we are doing in a meditation session, which, as we've seen, is not exerting effort. It's just relaxing back into the beingness, which is always right here. And then the second thing is, what is the experience that then arises in that session as we're doing that? Okay, the two different things. What are we doing, which is essentially pretty much doing nothing, uh, and then what experience arises as a result of that non-doing, that non-effort. Okay, now the experience varies. The experience varies, right? When it's just so, and the experience varies not just because of what we're doing or not doing, but because of what's getting sorted out by our nervous system at any given time, right? The nervous system can be releasing a bunch of old stresses and traumas we've been carrying around. And, the deep rest of meditation creates a nice open space for the kind of like the little wound up springs of stress and trauma to unwind themselves, right? Which is great. That's what we want. We're getting cleared. But as that happens, that tends to cause another kind of turbulence. So we may feel, antsy. We may feel, gee, I'm not really settling down. We may feel this is not a successful meditation. But it is a successful meditation, right? Meditation is not just for feeling some nice, deep relaxation for 20 minutes, then you go back the other 23 hours of the day is, you're screwed up again. It's for settling down. And yes, sometimes there's some subjectively nice experience of silence. And in that silence, these stresses get unwound. So then we go back, and in the other 23 hours, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day, there's more clarity, there's more openness, there's less crud in our nervous system for our experience to have to filter through, right, on the input, and for our behavior to filter through on the output. Okay? So when you have a meditation that's just So, but either way, what we're doing is not efforting. We're just relaxing back into the hammock of present awareness. So we relax back into that hammock, and sometimes it just feels like, just oh man, samadhi, just whoosh, I'm gone, great. And then sometimes we settle back into that, and it feels like pop, pop, pop. Oh, I'm antsy. I'm this, I'm that. They're both equally successful meditations. And in a sense, that second one is more successful for the long term effect. Okay? You're hearing all of this, Cole?
I am.
Yeah, this also is really important. Okay? Good. Um, yeah, and actually before I go ahead and get myself on gallery view, is everyone hearing this? This is a thing that's just crucial. This is a thing I have to say over and over for people to kind of hear it. Okay, yeah, everyone's hearing that. Everyone, anyone have questions about that before I go ahead to this thing about night? Yes, please, Summer, jump in, please. You have to unmute yourself. I'm still not hearing you. There you go.
Sorry. To Cole's question, so we're not efforting, but when we're lying in bed before we go to sleep and we're just letting our thoughts just whatever come, go, da da da, but we're not efforting. What?
Okay,
What?
I haven't gone on to that part yet.
Oh,
I want to first check, especially since this is I'm glad you jumped in since this is just your second session with us.
great.
Are you clear on everything I've said to
Yes.
Cole up to now?
Yes.
That's all making sense to you.
Yeah.
Okay, and this has maybe brought some additional clarity to your previous experiences with meditation, right? Okay, good. Okay, now I'll keep you both up here. So, okay, so when we're lying in bed at night, um, well, we can do anything. you know, uh, sometimes you hit the sack and you fall asleep. Done. Right. Sometimes you hit the sack and your mind's very active, and you may want to do something that is somewhat meditative. Right. Um, uh, you may want to do exactly what we just did here, when we're sitting. Usually, I think most people find that doing something a little bit different from that is somehow more copacetic in bed at night. Um, my last two books, Natural Meditation and Fear Less, both have sections about stuff you can do for falling asleep. Um, you can do, the breathing through the feet, which we do here sometimes. A couple of month or two ago, Philomena introduced us to this idea of breathing through the pericardium point, this point here in the palm of the hand. So and I've been doing this actually quite a bit. Philomena, thanks so much. I'm quite a bit that when I'm lying in bed at night. I'm a natural insomniac, by the way, right? I've been doing all these years of meditation, but both of my parents were big time insomniacs, and I got their DNA. So constitutionally, I have that tendency. I was an insomniac when I was like 6 years old. So I find it very useful. Okay, sometimes lying there and breathing, just with your mentally, the idea that as you breathe in and breathe out, you're breathing in and out through these points in the palms of the hand. And actually, I've been playing around with, I find this to be really effective, like breathe in through that point in the hand, and then breathe out through the corresponding point in the feet. Then breathe in through that point in the feet and out through that point in the hands. In through the hands, out through the feet. In through the feet, out through the hands. And what I find for myself is that because it's a little bit more engaging, the mind gets it keeps the mind a little bit more focused, a little bit less just running off into other stuff, And I find that effective for falling asleep, usually. And sometimes I pull out my phone and I bring up the app and do a New York Times crossword until I start dropping it on my chest and I look and I've typed a bunch of Z's. I go, now it's time to close my eyes again. So, all kinds of things. It's a different, it's a different kind of funny, fuzzy realm there in a lot of different kind of stages between awakeness and asleepness and meditativeness. And to try to put a one size fits all definition on it, is this meditation or not? I think it's not useful. It's not useful. It's I think what's most useful is just let it be whatever it is. Don't worry about trying to label it. The main thing is we know what we're doing here. We know the simplicity of meditation. And don't try to mix it up. Don't try to compare it with anything else. Okay, is that working for you?
Mm,
Okay,
well,
grill me some more, Cole.
I
Hit
don't know.
me again.
So I'm not really talking about like doing anything intentional to go to sleep,
Okay.
but more just like say you have an active mind,
Mm-hmm.
day, and you're not even aware of what that you want to do anything to go to sleep or
Mm-hmm.
not. You
Mm-hmm.
just let your mind go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is comparing, like we just said.
Right. Okay. So in other words, you're just lying there having thoughts.
Yeah. And
Okay. So is just lying there having thoughts the same thing as sitting in meditation? No. No. Okay. So now we're getting somewhere. Now we're getting somewhere. Now I'm really understanding. There is something valuable in your question here that I'm understanding now. Is what we do here in meditation the same as when you're lying in bed just caught up in having thoughts? No. And the difference is that in meditation, we do have this, it's just this little kind of a wisp of an intention, almost kind of the little shadow, the little echo of an intention, right? It's not like, oh, I must do this. I'm going to keep the mind here. I'm going to push out the thought. All this stuff that most people think meditation consists of. So we don't do any of that, but it's not quite that doing nothing as lying in bed, because there is this idea that we become aware, we become cognizant of the fact that, oh, I'm aware, thoughts and feelings, sensations, sounds, all experiences are coming and going within this awareness. They come, all the stuff I talk you through every time. They come and go by themselves. Where am I in all of this? I am that awareness. I am that space within which they come and go. And I'm settling and I'm allowing myself to settle back into that. That's a perspective. That's a particular perspective that allows settling, it facilitates the settling down within, and it facilitates the insight into what's going on. We've talked before about the two elements. I think this is a useful time to remind ourselves of the two elements of meditation. Traditionally, in Buddhist terminology, it's called shamatha and vipassana. Shamatha and vipassana. Shamatha means settling down. Okay. Vipassana means seeing clearly. All right. So it's the one thing to, okay, during the day we're up here mostly on the surface of the ocean of mind, we could say, where there's all this wave activity. literally these brain waves are going on. We're pretty much caught up in that. In meditation, we get a chance to settle down into the still waters that are underneath the waves. We don't make the water still. The water underneath the surface is always already still. We just allow gravity to pull us down into that. Okay. So that's the shamatha part, the settling down. The vipassana is that the recognition of what's going on, the recognition of, oh, okay, those waves are up there and that's fine. I don't have to do anything about them. This silence I feel myself settling into, I'm not creating it. It's just this deeper level. And when and then that insight's important when you come out, because then that helps facilitate recognizing that when we come out and we return to all of this activity, not just sitting there with your eyes closed, hearing some sounds from the street and having some thoughts, but you come out and now you're engaging things, you're going to work, you're dealing with family, all that surface activity coexisting with that, the stillness of the depths is still there. We don't fully recognize it yet, most of us, but we can. But our recognition of it gets clearer and clearer, and that's our growth into enlightenment. So that vipassana, that settling, I'm sorry, the shamatas, the settling takes place, and the vipassana, the recognition of what that is, and ultimately the recognition that all the tossing of the waves is fine because they're also just ocean. They're all just, we say this is just the down here, is the beingness. Up here is the activity. Turns out the activity is just the beingness, the beingness appearing to be something else, but it's not real. It's the beingness in drag, so to speak. It's the unmanifest infinite putting on its Halloween costume of being the manifest universe. So that little bit, that very slim little wisp of perspective of what we're doing when we sit to meditate, which is not what we're doing, what you were describing happening in bed, is what sets the stage for that to happen as we continue to practice. It's a subtle consideration, but the subtle is huge. Is that making sense for you?
Yeah, a lot of sense.
Good.
Like it's subtle, but I think very crucial.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. Yes.
and I mean, to be honest, I kind of got lost in thought
Mm-hmm.
a little bit while you're talking, but
That's fine. That's fine. I'll put this up on the YouTube channel. You can watch the rerun. Yep. I know I rattle on.
so
Sometimes
it's
it's easy to drift off.
difference. The difference between the two, if we're comparing, which we shouldn't really be comparing,
Mm-hmm.
but for this purpose,
Yeah.
is
No,
like
for this purpose, no. You
we
were
sit to
you were
meditate.
right. You were right. I was wrong. This is a fruitful comparison. Go ahead.
Okay. When we sit to meditate, it's the subtlety is like the effortlessness of awareness or the open space. Does that make any sense?
You know what? Your connection got weird for a moment there, so I missed the earlier part of your sentence. Can you say it again?
Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, my internet's bad. What I said was when we sit to meditate, the difference between, like, if we're comparing,
Mm-hmm.
is that when we sit to meditate, it's
Mm-hmm.
the effortlessness of noticing that open space.
Yeah.
I think just noticing doesn't require effort. Like it's always there,
Right. 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 Very good.
but when
Very
you
good.
meditate, you just notice it.
Very good. Yeah, that word noticing, that's a good word for you. That's a good word to hang your hat on, right? That because that's helping you see that it's not something you have to create, right? Like right now you can notice something in the room. You can the notice the wall, notice the door, right? Once you notice it, you realize it's there. You don't have to create the wall, right? And then you don't have to, oh, I got to hang on to this wall, right? We don't have to do any of that. You notice it, okay, it's there. I can relax into that recognition. Right, right. And I love what you said a minute ago. It's subtle, but it's crucial. That always makes me so happy to see someone in the sangha here recognizing that the real crucial stuff is subtle like that, because there's a lot of stuff you can do that, because people want to see big flashy things, right? They want to see non-subtle things. Okay, if I hit this gong, if I make this big dramatic gesture, if I throw myself at the feet of this guru, if I sit for 5 hours straight of meditation, now we got something going here, right? And that's just all, who is it that's making up all this big flashy stuff to do? It's the ego, right? It's the small mind, which is to be left behind. Right? And it's like, okay, but when you can appreciate the crucial nature of the subtleties, then you don't get distracted by all that stuff. Here's a story. Some of you have heard this, some of you have not. I was on a long meditation retreat. I was on this retreat for 5 months with my old teacher Maharishi. This was in 1972. I was in Mallorca, the Spanish island in the Mediterranean. And Maharishi would have us in those days meditate in rounds. Alan was on these retreats. He knows all about this. So Maharishi wouldn't just have us meditate straight. We'd be on what we called rounds, which is you'd meditate for a certain amount of time, for maybe 20 minutes, then you come out and you do some asanas, right? Some yoga, some stretching. Then you sit down again, do some pranayama, some breathing. Then you do another meditation, right? So yoga, pranayama, meditation. It's a very nice way to practice, actually. But he'd say, no, don't just meditate straight through. So one day, it was his birthday, January 12th. He said, okay, I'm taking my birthday off. Everyone, you don't have to round. You don't have to come out to any meetings. You don't have to come out to any meals. Go hog wild. You can just, meditate wall to wall if you want. And I go, okay, yes, this is it. This is what I'm here for. This is my big chance to storm the gates of enlightenment, right? I'm going to sit down. I'm going to just meditate the hell out of this day here. And I get myself all set up on my bed, and and I sit there, and I'm just so like I'm going to do this thing now, right? And I spend 6 hours straight just meditating the hell out of the thing, being real. Okay, I'm going to get, and then finally I go, this is it. I'm done. I'm going to stop meditating now. And I stopped, and then I settled, right? Because then all my intention, all my attitude, all my okay, this intention. See, which was too much intention. This is why I was saying before. We just want to have that little slim wisp of an intention, but this big, serious, non-subtle intention of I'm going to really get this thing done. So I was just sitting there grinding away at that for 6 hours. So then when I stopped, then finally, then just being was able to happen. So then I just sat in that for about half an hour and then I got up. Okay. Now, here's the question. Was the first 6 hours a waste of time? Anybody? Anybody? Dorothy, you're saying no. Why? You want to elaborate?
Well, because it made you get to the point, your epiphany, your realization.
Yeah.
And it's never a waste of time to actually I just say, like, I tell people my meditation is I just sit there and relax. Very few people during the day take even a minute to relax.
Mm-hmm.
And so your 6 hours of whatever you were trying to do, it got you to that realization.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's ever a waste when you're trying to meditate or when you're actually meditating. It's never a waste because it's always, I think in my mind, it's always a peaceful time for me. I take that time to settle and to be at peace. So it's never a waste of time.
Okay, good. Now, Dorothy, if you were going to be a lawyer for the other side in this case, and you have to now argue for the case that I was wasting time. I did waste 6 hours. What would be your most effective argument?
You should have just relaxed the entire time and not tried so hard.
There you go. Right, right, right. So in a sense, both are true, aren't they?
Yes.
Right, right. If I'd managed to catch on earlier, if I'd managed to not get caught up in all my attitude of spiritual heroics, now I'm the Buddha sitting down under the tree. Now I'm gonna I'm gonna get her done. Right. I could have just let go into effortlessness from the start and could have had maybe 6.5 hours of that.
Right.
But no, go ahead, Dorothy.
But you didn't, and you had to. That was your journey on, and that's what took you to get to the point. So I'm sure you never did that again, or you might have. But I'm saying you were more aware the next time you meditated.
There you go. I love good save. Good save, because we all do that and we go, okay, I'm not going to do that again, and then we do it again.
Yeah.
But it's okay. We take the big view of practice here, right? And we go through so I and you can think of all that the times we go back to doing, or we can think of my 6 hours as it's like I had to drive that vehicle of effort and intention and attitude and egoistic spiritual ego, right? It's like I had to drive that car long enough until it ran out of gas. And then I could finally just sit in the car, open up the top, it's a convertible, open up the top and look at the sky and hang out. Right? So what I try to do, having been through a few years of stuff like this, what I try to do as a teacher or a guide, whatever, is just help you all get maybe a few minutes earlier, get to that part. You just sit down, roll back the top, and throw the keys into the bushes. Enjoy the sky.
That's what you do, Dean. You help us. You help us to do that.
God knows I try.
You do a good job.
Thank you. Yep.
You know what I feel sometimes is, for me, I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but you just sort of take the weight and the pressure off of any of the shoulds or any of the expectations. So if there's any moment where it should have been different, I should have had longer breath before at this, you just always remind us that any part of that word, you just uncoil that really rapidly. And that's one of the best parts.
Yeah. Well, the old saying, don't should on me, I won't should on you. Sorry. Sorry. Uh, but yeah. And you know what's great. You know what I'm hearing from y'all is that what you're getting is how to meditate. You know how to grow into this life of awakening, and also you're getting how to, in case it ever comes up, how to guide others. Right? You're getting, okay, what's the language that you use? What's the language that you don't use, which is equally important, sometimes more important? You know, this is why every once in a while, especially if I have a new book that comes out, I'll be interviewed for a magazine about, you know, the book or about meditation. The best, by the way, the one that really impressed my sister-in-law, I was interviewed by In Style. She said, "Oh yeah, that's in all the beauty parlors." Right? I don't know how I wound up in there, but whenever I'm interviewed, I always I say after it's written, before you send it off to the editor, could I see it? Because almost invariably they'll put words into my mouth that I didn't say because they don't know the difference. They'll say, you know, so I'll say, so you know, you just you know, you settle back into, right, and they'll write, Slider said, you just focus on, right. It's so in that notion is so ingrained that they don't realize that they never heard me say that, right? Or I'll say something like, yeah, the thoughts and feelings just come and go like clouds in the open sky of awareness. And I'll say, Slider told the group to visualize clouds coming and going in the sky. Right? These are all everything I'm saying here specifically has happened. Right? I've had to correct them. So you're all learning that the language, and the language, getting back, Cole, to what you said before, the language is subtle. The differences in the language that are subtle, and that's crucial. Right? And also, as you get the language, even if you never, you know, get involved in guiding others, and you know that's not going to be for everyone. You're getting getting the language straight helps you guide yourself. Right? When you're sitting there going, wait, what's going on? What do I do here? You hear the right words, and they kind of, oh yeah, here, like that. Yeah, good. Good. What else? Kristen, are you bouncing on an exercise ball? Good. We should all have those. It would be much more
No,
fun.
I was wondering if it was getting annoying. I'm sorry. Let me know.
No, it's great. I just, except I'm jealous. We should all have those. Good. What else tonight?
I had, speaking of the bouncing ball, I had an experience years ago. I was at a birthday party at a yoga studio in the Valley, and I was just bouncing on the ball, just like Barbara is.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, the ball busts, and I land on my duff right on the floor. Didn't hurt myself, but it was kind of a shock.
Mm-hmm. Okay then. Yep. Yep. And by the way, if you'd had your Zen master or your Lama happen to be present in the room at that moment, he'd go, okay, now look at your awareness, right? Those are great. Those are great times. Those are times you can really. Some of you've heard me talk about this before, because you know I've never been a Zen practitioner, but I have spent some years doing Tibetan style practice with lamas, and where you'll be sitting in meditation, and you know the whole room full of people, everything gets real quiet, everyone's settling in really deep, and then the lama goes, "Pet," right, and then he might say, "Now look." Now look, right? Now look at your awareness. Now, right? Right? And sometimes they won't say anything. They'll just say, pet, and then things will continue in silence for another half hour,
Um,
right?
Frit-
And I've sometimes experienced this one particular Lama. Man, he had a great pet, spelled Phat, right? And it was just, oh man, it just like shook you to your core, and it's just like whatever I was hanging on to, whatever intention, whatever, it's like suddenly it takes you out of that because it's so unexpected, and you're into like freshness. You're into freshness of experiencing, and then just look now, hang out there.
um, and something related to that, but not a little bit different, is Fritz Perls was conducting a seminar at Essel, and this was way, way, way back.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the and Fritz was 75 years old at the time. Well, one of the participants was frustrated because he didn't know he didn't think he could experience pain. And he kept saying this, so they all expected some kind of cosmic discourse from Fritz, but no, he goes and pops the guy in the mouth. I mean, talk
Yeah,
about unexpected.
yeah. The old Zen masters. I actually just wrote this. I was on this Facebook group, this particular Facebook group where some kind of spiritual discussions take place, it's actually a group of old TM people. And I do that to keep track with some people, but I almost never jump into the discussions because it's always very unrewarding. But this one guy people were talking about, when Maharishi did this thing, was this really ethically correct? And when the organization did this thing, and this thing with money that was not really kosher, how could they do that? And this one guy who was just so whatever they do, that's just the soul speaking. It's just your karma. It's just your DNA, and just like doing these just bullshit spiritual rationalizations for bad behavior, just the worst kind of spiritualized bullshit. And I as I say, I usually don't jump in, but I jumped in, and I had to write to this guy. I said, when people say stuff like what you're doing, the old days, the old Zen masters, they just whack them on the side of the head and then say, chill, dude, it's just my DNA speaking.
Good comeback, Dean.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know if it had any impact, but yeah, good. Anything else tonight? What else tonight? Okay, must be time for a little singing meditation. Whoops. So the words to this, if you want, let me mute you so you can sing along if you like, without too much chaos. So the words are Bolo Ram, Ram, or Ram, if that's easier to say it that way. Ram is one of the millions of names for the infinite, for the beingness, for what you are, your true self, that which we settle into when we settle. And Bolo means say or sing. Say or sing. So what we're saying is like sing the infinite. Or actually in Western tradition we might say praise the Lord. Right? Same thing. Ram Ram Bolo Ram. Ram Ram Bolo Ram. Ram Ram Bolo Ram. Ram Ram Bolo Ram. Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram. Ram Ram Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram. Ram Ram Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram, Ram Ram Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram, Ram Ram Ram. Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram, Ram Ram Ram. Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram, Ram Ram Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram. Ram Ram Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram. Ram Ram Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram. Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram. Ram Ram Ram. Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram. Ram Ram Ram. Boloram. Okay, thanks everyone. May all beings swiftly realize their true nature, swiftly realize that they've been hanging out in that hammock of boundless beingness all the time, every moment of their lives, because there's nowhere else to be, there's nowhere else to hang. The universe hangs in that hammock. And thus, may all beings swiftly wake up from the fever dream of suffering, loneliness, distress. And the Sanskrit for that wish, Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Dean.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dean.
Thank you, Dean.
Thank you, Dean.
See you
Thanks,
around.
Dean.
Take it easy. Have fun.
Too.
Enjoy being